Well, now I have the pleasure of introducing a candidate who I've watched from his first announcement that he was running for governor. I don't know if you remember last year. It was about what, March? Yeah, around then. And he was going to run as a clean candidate, right? Yeah.
Until there was.
But his campaign started to snowball, and interest developed not only in his hometown in Tucson, but all over the state, because he's somebody who speaks a lot of good common sense and knows the state legislature inside and out. He's been there for how many years now, Steve?
More than I can count. 12 years.
12 years. And I've heard him speak several times, and I've been impressed. And you know, the other candidate is a great guy too. He's spoken here before. But I'm happy to have Steve come here so you can see him, and he is doing an amazing job out there. Part of what he's done is fundraising, which you have to do when you're running for governor. And he is making an impact. Last week, he was standing up for teachers. I saw the video feed at the Capitol. He was just, they were knocking him down. He was getting back up again and proposing something else and trying to fight for those teachers, and it was very inspiring. Please welcome Steve Farley.
Well, I was really impressed by this turnout to hear a bunch of politicians speak. Then I noticed your spread, and I figured it was the booze and the dessert that brought you all out. But I am really excited to be here today. Is anybody here ready to change Arizona? Well, that's good. Then you came to the right place, because with your help, I will be the next governor of the state of Arizona. And wasn't that something last week? Tens of thousands of teachers basically occupying the Capitol. For me, I'm used to spending budget night in the middle of the night, railing on Republican budgets, with nobody in the gallery at 3:30 in the morning. This year was different, because the teachers were paying attention. They came down here, and they are very interested in learning, because that's their job. And they were shocked and appalled by what was happening with Republican leadership and this governor. And it was like a little village down there. And they were there 24/7. And early on, I realized they needed good information. So I started posting in my Facebook page accurate and good information that was coming in time. It was timely. And the teachers started to look at my Facebook page as basically their village newspaper. So I posted updates about what was being heard where, and where they could get involved, and what was happening on the floor or the committee. And they liked them 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 times in the first hour. They were passing them and sharing them, and people really appreciate that information. They were coming to caucus meetings, in which we were just going over for 2.5 hours over details of the budget that had nothing to do with education, with rapt attention. They were packing the galleries. We had a 7-hour debate about the NRA-approved school safety bill that Governor Ducey was trying to shove down our throats. 7-hour debate. They were packed in the gallery, watching the whole thing all the way. And then on budget night, not only were the teachers up all night long, we started at 8 p.m., went till 6 a.m. the next morning, non-stop debate. They were packing the gallery, they were packing the first floor lobby, they were packing the second floor lobby, watching on TV in those lobbies. And early on Monday, I'd actually taught the first group of teachers in the gallery how not to get kicked out. Because if you make a big ruckus in the Senate, you're going to get kicked out. So I suggested that if they liked what they heard, they should do jazz hands. And they really caught on. I mean, teachers like rules. So they passed that among themselves to be able to show, let's do jazz hands, do that. So soon in the House they were doing jazz hands, they liked what they heard. And they were doing standing jazz hands for standing ovations. But the most amazing thing, for someone like me who has been reeling on the floor for 11 years to empty galleries in the middle of the night, whenever I'd make a point, they'd do the standing jazz hands. And then 3 seconds later, because of the tape delay on the TVs, you'd hear this tremendous roar of cheers going up throughout the building. Unbelievable. When I would tell them about what was happening, tell them about those corporate tax loopholes on coal and private jets, I would hear gasps from the gallery at 3 in the morning. And then I gave my final summation speech about the K-12 budget bill at 4:45 in the morning. Someone in the gallery filmed it, posted it on Facebook. It's now had over 53,000 views. Wow. This is an 11-minute political speech. 53,000 views. And all over the state, people are saying, you know, there's a guy running for governor who could completely change everything, who has the experience and the knowledge of policy across the board, who understands how the process works, who is completely accountable and transparent. And these educators are going back to their home communities and they're spreading the word because they came to the Capitol and they are now forever changed. They understand that democracy dies in neglect. That's something we kind of all learned in November 2016. But it's changing now. We've quadrupled the number of PCs in the Democratic Party in Arizona since Trump was elected. Quadrupled them. That's all you, all yourself. And now you have 100,000 people who are professional educators who are dedicating their entire summer to educating the public about why we need to change this legislature and this governor. That's a powerful force for change. Now let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been serving the legislature for 12 years, 6 years in the House, 6 years in the legislature. I was the ranking member of the House Ways and Means Committee my entire time, ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee. I'm on the Appropriations Committee, the Joint Legislative Budget Committee. I understand our budget and our revenues inside out. I know when Governor Ducey says we don't have the money to fully invest in our education system, he's lying. We have the money, we have chosen to give it away. And that will change when I'm governor. Now, in my other life, I'm also a public artist and graphic designer. And I've actually run my own business since 1991. I invented a process to put photographs on glazed ceramic tile, and I do murals all over the country, and I've done that since I invented that process in 1997. So I've got my right hemisphere and my left hemisphere operating at the same time. And we need a little creative problem solving to be able to solve those issues we have in our state government. I've always done that. And I really, part of that is the ability to work across the aisle. I've always worked very closely, even with people I disagree with. I'll never forget one of the peak moments in 2013 in my legislative career when Jan Brewer, of all people, who I disagreed with about almost everything, reached out to me and said, you know, what would you think? Do you think you could keep the caucus together if I expanded Medicaid health care to 400,000 people in poverty? I said, yes, we can. And we worked together, we kept the caucus together, and we got a few Republicans on our side, and we rolled the speaker, we rolled the president, and we got that in place. And our hospitals were kept afloat. There were hospitals going under in 2012, 2013, you may remember. That bill cut the cost of their unreimbursed care by 2/3. Huge thing, and we did it together across the aisle. Probably the most important thing I've done for the last 25 years is I've been a dad. I've got 2 daughters. My oldest daughter just graduated from Washington University in St. Louis last May. And she is now living and working in New York. She lives in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and she's working in galleries in Manhattan. She's living an incredibly adventurous life. And I always taught my daughters to be adventurous, and I'm very proud of them for what they're doing. She actually just curated her first gallery show at a Chelsea gallery called the Alyssa Davis Gallery. Just opened, and it got written up in Art Forum. So amazing stuff she's doing. My youngest daughter, Gigi, she just graduated from Tucson High last May. Number 17 in the class of 755. And she's now just come back from her freshman year at Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts, a great women's college that's really training her in leadership and loving her time there. The reason that my daughters got a great public education in Arizona to get to where they are today was the quality of their teachers. And I had a parent's eye view at Tucson High over the last 4 years in particular of the devastation that this governor and this legislature has wrought upon our education system. At Tucson High, they have 6 counselors for 3,200 students. They have a third of the computers they need, and the average age of those computers is 12 years old. And computer years are longer than dog years. 10% of their classrooms are locked away because they're literally hazardous to inhabit. Because we used to have something called a building renewal formula. It said how much we're supposed to spend around the state on our public schools to keep them in good shape. We have only been funding that in less than 10% of what it should be for the last 10 years. So what you get is roofs that are collapsing, you get HVAC systems held together with duct tape, and you get local economies that are missing out from what happens when you invest that much money to give local tradespeople jobs, and then they fix our schools and keep them safe, and they spend their money in the local economy. That's how basic economics 101, that's how you do it. When you take that money away and give it to out-of-state tax cuts, you get out-of-state shareholders taking money and putting it away in New York investment banks, and it disappears from Arizona. When you give teachers a little bit of extra money, they spend it right here, and that helps our local economy. Our priorities have been wrong. Our priorities need to change. That's what I'll do as governor. We started by putting some money into our public education system for the first time, and the teachers did that. Because 3 weeks before we approved this budget, Governor Ducey's best offer was $33 million in the next fiscal year for public education in new money. $33 million. By the time the teachers walked in and then walked out, it's $405 million. Those educators changed the world. But he's cut $1.1 billion over the last 10 years along with this other legislatures. We've got a lot more to go. The fact is we have the money to do it. And I know that because of my time in the legislature, on the Ways and Means Committee, on the Finance Committee, on the budget committees. We have something called corporate sales tax loopholes, of which there are 13.7 billion we give away every year. Our entire budget is only 10.2 billion this year. There are things like if you go to the hardware store and buy a 3-inch pipe, you pay sales tax. If you buy a 4-inch pipe, you don't. Now that only makes sense if you're a corporation that buys a lot of 4-inch pipe in Arizona. It so happens there is one. It's a Nevada corporation called Southwest Gas. Every month we pay a bill to Southwest Gas. They take some of that money, they hire a lobbyist, they go to the legislature, they give themselves a break. There are 330 other loopholes just like this, and they're never once reviewed. Some have been in there for 50 or 60 years. If we eliminated just $3 billion worth of those, we could lower our sales tax rate by a full % while increasing education spending by $2 billion a year. Wow. And an actual 20% teacher raise, not a branded 20% teacher raise that doesn't really deliver like Governor Ducey has been saying, but a real one, not just to teachers, but to all educators support professionals, would be around $780 million a year. And then we could restore our building renewal formula. And we could restore our additional assistance formula with the textbooks and computers. And we could restore our universities and our community colleges from all the cuts they've had. And we can finally invest in ourselves and have the economy and the society we deserve. And we can do it while lowering our sales tax. We can do this. And one of the ways I keep myself sane in the legislature is I reach across the aisle and try to find something I can work with, just like I did with Janet Brewer, with people I disagree with the most. There was a senator named David Farnsworth from East Mesa, very Tea Party guy. When he first came in, I sat down with him and I pitched an idea I could work with him on. At the time, it was against the law if you sliced a tomato in your school cafeteria that you grew in your school garden. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. Didn't make a lot of sense to him, so he agreed, let's work together. We had some stakeholder groups, we got some legislation through. Now, if you slice that tomato in your school cafeteria, you're not going to jail. I like the applause, but it's not earth-shaking. However, it does create a relationship. And last year, when Senator Farnsworth became the chair of the Senate Finance Committee, I brought to him a bill to force review, at least once every 10 years, every one of those corporate sales tax loopholes. If they could prove themselves and their worth to the overall economy, then you could keep them. If they couldn't, if they were just a flat-out giveaway to a special interest, get rid of them and recover that revenue. He signed on as a co-sponsor on my Democratic bill. Then he heard it in his committee and passed unanimously. Then we passed it out of the floor of the Senate 28-2, with some of the most conservative members of the Senate voting in favor.
And this is what gets me excited, because there's a lot of things that even the Tea Party agrees with us on. We have the opportunity here in this election of not just winning and having the blue team beat up on the red team before they do it again to us next time, but actually helping to heal our democracy. Because one of the things that scares me the most about what's been happening in this country is the polarization of where we start to see each other as enemies instead of fellow Americans who disagree. And I think this is an opportunity, this election, to actually change that. I speak really good Republican. So I go on conservative talk radio a lot, and I talk with people. And several times I've had people call in and say, you know, I've never heard a Democrat speak before, but you make sense. There's a supervisor named Buster Johnson out in Mojave County. He wrote an op-ed in the Havasu News about, I think it was last summer, where he called Doug Ducey a hypocrite. Because, as he put it, he bragged about raising taxes, about balancing a budget without raising taxes. But as the Tea Party guy pointed out in the article, all he did was shove responsibilities and costs to cities and counties and school districts who had to raise their taxes to balance their budgets. And again, the Tea Party doesn't like that any more than we do. There is an opportunity for us to heal our democracy, win this election, work together, and actually move this state forward. So I'm thrilled about that opportunity to make that happen. And we saw what happened in that election in Sun City, that special election in CD8, with Dr. Tipernini coming that close to winning. That was a 16-point Democratic shift. 16 points. And when you saw the results, 15% of registered Republicans voted for Dr. Tipernini. She was not running as a middle-of-the-road moderate. And then they voted for her. People want to just have grown-ups in the room solving problems. They're done with reality show stars. And people are done. I have a lot of Republicans supporting my campaign as well. They're done with a governor who reports to a couple of Kansas billionaires instead of the people of Arizona. Because people simply want their problems solved. That means funding our public education completely, reinvesting in ourselves. That means instead of stealing money from our gas taxes, spending on improving our roads and creating jobs that way. That means providing quality, affordable health care for everyone. We have a unique opportunity right now. You're all here in this room because you know we need to nurture our democracy. We need to move forward. We need to elect great candidates like the ones you've heard today. And we need to stay engaged in our democracy all the way through. We need to start talking politics in polite company. We need to convert the people we know to talk about simply changing the way we do politics and solving problems again. We can get this done because I'm seeing the energy all over the state. I've been doing this for 18 months already, and I see everywhere I go, folks are wanting change. They want us to solve their problems. They want those grown-ups in the room. We're going to get it done together. I really feel that energy from across the board. And once we do that, I think folks aren't going to want to go back to the bad old days of partisan ideological governance. They simply want us to do things like grown-ups. So are you with me? Thank you. And I wanted to mention there's a few things you could do to help. Money is important when you're running against the Koch brothers. I spend a lot of time on the phone talking with people and seeing what we can do to get the resources to get our message out. I've actually outraised every other statewide candidate of either party for any office. We've raised $1 million so far this campaign. But we're going to need more. So if you can help out, I don't have a couple of billionaires in my pocket, but I have thousands and thousands and thousands of Arizonans who are giving 10, 20, 50, $100, and that's what I need. Everybody pitching in to do what they can. But more importantly, if you can go home and talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to 10 of them, ask them to tell 10 of their friends. And tell them there's a guy running for office who could change everything, who understands the process, because I have the experience to be able to do this after 12 years of knowledge. Justice Stanley Feldman, who retired from the Supreme Court in Arizona, actually told me that he believes I'm the most qualified person ever to run for governor in the state of Arizona. He's history. I was blown away when he said that. And I know how to win elections. I've won 6 in a row. So after 12 years in the minority in this place, in the legislature, I got fire in my belly. No one's going to outwork me on this effort. But I need your help. So if you can go out there and win over people's votes and make that happen, we're going to get this done. And tomorrow we're actually going to we're having a coffee at 10 a.m. to 11:30 at the Yavapai County Democratic Party headquarters. I'm sure you all know where that is. If you want to drop by and talk some more, we can talk about how we're moving the state forward. This is exciting stuff. This is the cycle we've been waiting for. And now we got these 100,000 teachers motivated as well. We're going to do this together. We're going to make this happen. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to take questions. I'm a policy wonk, so I love questions. So please, yes.
I'd like to ask a favor
Yes.
and ask the same question to David Garcia. When you become our next Democratic governor, and in 2.5 years we have a Democratic president, and if he gives you a call, or he or she, and wants you to become a cabinet secretary, this is what I want you to tell our next president.
Sorry, you'll have to find someone else. That's what I will say. I have no other interest in going to D.C. None whatsoever. I'm going to be here. This is what I want to do. I believe there is the possibility of changing things in Arizona where I don't see that change, a possibility for change right now in Congress. We can change the country from good leadership here in Arizona, and that's where the work is to be done.
Growing so fast that it's thinking of changing its name.
What do you say?
Is it true that Tucson is growing so fast it's thinking of changing its name?
I haven't heard that. Sounds like a punchline.
It's going to change its name to
Up to Tucson. Okay. I'll try to use that one. It worked so well. What are questions? Yes.
Yeah, you know, we just got back from vacation. We went all the way back to Hilton Head, South Carolina. And we traveled a lot of freeways, a lot of roads. And I'll tell you one thing, I can't understand why a lot of these other states have nice roads, and look at our roads. I am so embarrassed when I come back into Arizona. Our highways are terrible. What's happened to all the money?
Transportation is one of the things that I did before I ever decided I was ever going to be in elected politics. I was a graphic designer, public artist. I got involved in transportation in Pima County. And I was pushing for better public transit in Pima County. And in fact, I was the guy behind what if you've been to Tucson since 2014, you may have seen how downtown is completely transformed. I was the guy behind the modern streetcar that unleashed that economic development. And we've seen $1.5 billion in private investment within 3 blocks of a 4-mile route of that streetcar since then. And downtown, that was formerly dead, is now a place everyone wants to live, and everyone wants to eat, and everyone wants to have a good time, and it's 24/7 activity. It's amazing what we've seen because of transportation investment. And part of that effort, I was leading the effort to be able to put in place a Pima County Regional Transportation Authority with $2 billion worth of investment in road projects and transit projects all over the Pima County. They tried and failed 5 previous times in 40 years. And then we got it past 60-40. When I brought the coalitions together, we got it done. Transportation infrastructure is one of the best ways, not just of improving our quality of life, but creating jobs. Every $1 billion you spend on transportation infrastructure is 19,000 new jobs. And those are really good, high-paying jobs that don't require a whole lot of college degrees or anything else, but people need those jobs to be able to get our economy going. There's no reason we should be stealing money from our gas taxes and paying it for tax cuts, which this governor, the previous governor, and this legislature has done consistently. And I've been railing about these HERF shifts that have hurt rural counties in particular for years and years and years. In Apache County, they have a 67-year resurfacing cycle. By the time they get to the road, there's no road left to resurface. And you've seen I-17 and what happens there. I know you know all about it. We need to invest in ourselves again. It's time to stop governing for a couple of billionaires from Kansas who want to lower their taxes at our expense. We need to invest in ourselves, create jobs, create a better economy, create great infrastructure, and make that happen. And that will be a top priority of mine as governor. So thank you.
Steve, What
Yes.
is your plan to blunt Ducey's constant ads on the TV about being the education governor without raising taxes? What's your plan to deal with that?
Well, the good news is people are kind of not believing that already because he's been, well, it's not him, it's the Koch brothers through their it's classic dark money stuff. So thank you for doing the Dirty Money Initiative. I actually helped Terry Goddard to write that Dirty Money Initiative because I have been railing against dark money for my entire time in the legislature. Bill Moyers actually came out in 2012 to interview me because of a bill I did to counter ALEC, the ALEC Accountability Act. Those ads in particular, they say they were funded by the Arizona Education Project. When you look on the website, it says it was funded by the Arizona Chamber and by APS. And they did it through their 501 organizations. A 501 organization does not have to report who gave them the money ultimately until January of next year on the Form 990. So that's the way of hiding, and I'll give you two guesses where that money came from, and they're both brothers from Kansas. That's what they're trying to do, and they're going to put money every step of the way. The Republican Governors Association is putting money in his campaign early because they're very worried about the polling we're seeing, because our polling shows that I'm in a dead heat to beat Ducey in November. And they're seeing the same thing. And that was before last week when everything changed and all these teachers are galvanized. We are even higher ahead of Ducey in November. I'm convinced of it based on all the things that are happening because people no longer believe what Doug Ducey says when his lips move. We've seen years and years of him being utterly dishonest about what he does. Because remember, his first year out of the gate, he destroyed our JTED system, the Joint Technological Education Districts. One of the most successful programs we've ever had. When those programs, when kids take just one class, the average graduation rate in Arizona is 78% of high school graduates. It's very low. But when kids take just one JTED class during their time in high school, it goes up to 98%. And they learn good skills they can use to go to college or get good jobs. Why would you cut a program like that? It has strong support of the business community. It has strong support of even Republicans. Why would you cut it? He cut it anyway. The off session, I worked with Republicans, I worked with the business community, I worked with other Democrats to get this together. The next year, we had a 90-0 vote, forcing him to restore. Even then, he only restored $28 million. And he put a bunch of strings on it. And then later that year, with all that money from the Koch brothers, he went on TV and said, I'm the governor who restored $28 million, or who invested $28 million in JTED. That, we've seen it time and time again. He keeps doing one thing and saying he's doing the other, and the people of Arizona are seeing through it. We saw it through our polls that those 3 months of ads in January, February, March were not penetrating. People do not trust this person in the governor's office anymore. He reads talking points, and he reads them well. He doesn't create his own policy. That's done for him by a guy who's his chief of staff, a guy named Kirk Adams, who I know very well because I served with him in the House. He was sworn in 6 months before I was. He became Speaker of the House. Then he left to head up the dark money organization that funneled Koch brothers money to candidates like Doug Ducey. Once Ducey won the governor with his help, he became chief of staff, and now he writes policy for the people of Arizona. You can guess he's not doing it for the people of Arizona, he's doing it for a couple of billionaires from Kansas who hired him in the first place. That sort of stuff must change. And people are seeing that across the board. People understand, all over the place. When he proposed last year a 0.4% raise for teachers, that was his best offer. He went on the Mac and Gato show on KTAR in Phoenix. They're pretty conservative. And they said to him, Governor, I've talked to a lot of teachers, and I haven't met a single one that isn't insulted by your 0.4% raise. $15 a month. And he said something, and he repeated it over and over again because of the talking point thing. He said, it's not 0.4%. It's 2% over 5 years. They were like, Governor, we can do math. We went to good public schools. And he repeated it over and over again. People hear that enough all over the place, and they know they can't trust this guy. There is a crisis of confidence in the governor's office. And people want somebody who's going to tell them the truth about what's really going on and talk about the solutions that could fix things. And I've been doing that every week in the legislature since I was sworn in January 2007. How many of you have read the Farley report? Okay, we got some Farley report fans here. I've written 300 of these emails to constituents and other interested people all over the state. There's 26,000 people on the list. And since January 2007, every week during session, I write everything that happened explaining how the legislature works or doesn't work, how people can get plugged in, different details on policy, and they are all on my website. So all of my good Republican trackers can look them up and use all sorts of stuff out of context against me. But it gives the people of Arizona a true education in how this place works and doesn't work. And I've always believed in that kind of transparency. We can create a better state through good policy. It can happen. You just have to be honest with people about what it is we can do and how to make it happen. And this is the election where we can elect people like the folks you heard tonight in order to carry that out. Okay, one more right there.
All of these topics are so valid, but they become a moot point with one other topic, which is that of water. And we have enough high-density building projects going on in this area to double this population in a very short time. But we do not have doubling water. The snowpack that feeds the Colorado River is 20% of normal.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Nestle is bottling water in Phoenix like it was the fountain of youth down there. I'm not seeing where it's coming from.
Well, and you're absolutely right. And I would add to water being one of those foundational things, climate change is another one. Particularly when you look at Phoenix, it has already last year had to close Sky Harbor for a day because it was too hot for the planes to have lift. What happens when, as the climate scientists say, we're going to routinely get stretches of 130 degrees or above in 10 to 20 years? What happens to our economy and our ability to survive as a state? And what happens to our water supply? Because it's all tied together. One of the things you don't do to solve water is you don't bring together invitation-only people at a private room behind closed doors and come up with a plan to help you politically, which is what Governor Ducey did. He got a few people around a table and tried to figure out how to get to a plan that would benefit himself politically. The way to solve water is to have everybody at the table in an open and transparent process, because we're all in this same aquifer together. And we have to figure out how it's something that we share the sacrifice and we share the benefit, and we have to work on that. But an overarching thing we need to do is we need to, and I will do this my first day in the governor's office by executive order because you can, I will put Arizona right back in the Paris Climate Change Accords as a state. Because the fact is, we are on the front lines of the damage from climate change, whether it's water, whether it's the forest fires, whether it's the heat, whether it's all these other things that will make us unlivable within 30 years. We got to do something about it now, and the thing that's amazing is that we can make a lot of money while doing something about it. This country should not be powered on West Virginia coal or Texas oil. It should be powered on Arizona sunshine. And we got a state right next door in California that has a 50% renewable standard. And they're looking everywhere to pay a premium for renewable energy, and our infrastructure is right here, the transmission infrastructure, to sell it to them. We should be retrofitting all of our plants to solar. We should be putting solar everywhere and making money off of California while helping reduce climate change. That's the way we do this thing. All that takes is leadership. So thank you so much for being here. Stay engaged. This is the one we win. We're going to make this happen together. Appreciate it.